I am so thrilled to have Justin and Haley here. And they are just rock stars in the financial education community. They have a great podcast. Where did you come up with the name? I want to start with that.
So we did an Instagram poll. We were
Okay.
going to do a podcast. We knew that it was going to be about money management and paying off debt, and we wanted to talk to millennials. And so we went on Instagram and we're like, what should we call this? We have money and millennials, and a couple people said something about avocado toast. One person said the cost of avocado toast, and Justin thought that sounded too low. So we spun it, and I think you finalized price of avocado toast. But yeah, very, very much not. We didn't come up with that at all. The community did.
I love it. It's unique. It's catchy, and you all are almost at 200,000 downloads, and you're doing it as a team. And that was really why I wanted to have you both on here, because at Modern Husbands, we really want to make sure that we shine a spotlight on couples like you two, where you're a loving couple who supports one another, who recognizes the importance of an egalitarian relationship, and that in particular in a world where it's not necessarily the norm yet for men to look at their wives and say, man, I've got your back. I want to make sure that you reach your career goals. We all have career goals, but unfortunately for so many years prior to this, in most marriages, the default is that a woman is the one who has to be the flexible one. So she's still working in most cases, but she is the one who's the lead caregiver. She's the one when the baby's sick that has to go pick the baby up. And it didn't matter what she did leading up to that point or how aspirational she was. That was the default. And that's just not something that necessarily promotes happiness in every marriage. And so the reason that I wanted to have you on is that you two get it. You are a walking, talking billboard for what we believe a modern husband's couple looks like. And so with all of this said, what is it? Let's start with you, Haley. What is it that Justin does that provides you with the support that you need to be successful in your career?
That's a great question. Everything.
I like that answer though. Everything.
He just does everything for me and our family, around the house, for our kids. He's a present, very, very present father, and that makes it so I can kind of step away and focus on the business, but also be there at the same time. He cooks dinner. He's the one that's like the meal plan chef in the house. He cooks for us. He just does it all. And he also carries me emotionally and cheers me on, which is pretty cool. Because sometimes in business and entrepreneurship, when you're starting something, there's the imposter syndrome, and you start to get in your head about what's next, or are you good enough, or whatever. And he's always there to kind of ground me and be like, listen, we're doing this. We need to kind of zoom out a bit sometimes. So he does it all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Justin, we need to exchange recipes later. And I love to cook, man. I love to smoke food, smoke my meats. But I noticed that Haley said meal preparation, like everything around it, and that's essential because it's one thing to cook, but to figure out what are we making for the week, that takes a different level of just mind space. Going to the grocery, that's just time. And you do all of that, Justin.
Yeah, and I actually enjoy it. I was bragging to Haley a couple years back that I was the president of the culinary club when I was a senior in high school. It's I actually do enjoy it. I like exploring with new recipes and whatnot, and it gives me kind of time to just decompress throughout my day and kind of zone out and enjoy food. I love the idea of what food and meals bring between community and connection and stuff. So it's really rewarding as a father to do that for my babies and for Haley as a husband and stuff. So I actually really enjoy it.
And I know you love being a dad. What's your favorite time to spend with your child?
Oh, goodness. I would probably say there's this really sweet spot of time right before lunchtime where the girls have this great, like, wind of energy, and it's like hide and seek, or it's dance parties, or it's, dragons, or other random games that our daughters make up and play. But I just get to be silly and goofy and embarrass myself in front of somebody who thinks that I'm, the world to them. So that's a pretty fun time for sure.
And it sounds like you kind of read the cues with Haley to recognize when, as she said, being an entrepreneur is really hard, when things are starting to get particularly tough. And it sounds to me like you're that emotional support, which, we hear time and time again is essential. Is there any sort of trick that you can pass on to others to just recognize when, they see the tea kettle boiling before it starts making that loud shriveling noise that we all make when we just have like had that one final thing that we can't take and we just want to blow up? I don't know if you guys get like that, but you can only take so much. And eventually it's like, I can't do anymore. What is it that you do? And what is it that you recognize in her just to keep her in a position where she can continue to be successful in leading the company?
That's a really good question. And it's actually one that, as you say it out loud, some things come to mind almost immediately, which is pretty cool. So one of the things that I notice within Haley is that her vocabulary changes from I get to, or we get to do this, versus we have to, or we got to do this. And I can tell that there is a stress or a strain in that vocabulary that causes her to feel like tension or stress. And for me, the biggest thing has been her social proof. I've seen nothing but a successful entrepreneur since day one. I was essentially the one to push her off the ledge and say, build this thing that you're really passionate about. Let's see how it works. And I've seen nothing but success. So I don't have this other story of, what it would look like to fail. I've only seen my wife be successful. So when I see that vocabulary change, I think it's really easy for me to say, hey, wait a minute. Everything that you've done up to this point has been like win, 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 win. And they might be minor wins, but they've been wins along the journey. And any time that you maybe feel that it's not a win, it's a learning lesson or a learning moment, which is a win in the long run anyways. So I've only seen success from her, and I have no other, background to go with. That's all I can really operate from. So for me, it's when I see that vocabulary change, I can really be like, hey, like you can do this. You are holding everything up right now within your business, and then our own, household at times. Like, you are doing great, and it is okay to recognize, like, wait, I am a rock star. I'm doing great things. And I think that her hearing that affirmation probably helps as well.
Walk us through what it was like when Haley first approached you about leaving teaching, or have you left teaching entirely? That's what I thought. Leaving teaching and doing this together, running your company together.
I was really worried. We both enjoyed being in the classroom. We both loved being educators. And Haley was having success outside of the classroom, being a mom at home and building her business. And when we were planning to relocate to a higher cost of living area where education salaries just don't quite hold up on their own when you're on the lower side of the salary scale, Haley said, well, if we're going to move back there, I think we should actually maybe pursue you joining me and coming to be a financial coach within my business. And I wasn't totally sure at first. I thought it was a joke, to be quite honest. I thought that like my wife just really liked hanging out with me and wanted me home and stuff. And the more and more we talked about it, I could tell she actually was serious. And I would start to kind of, I think, pitch ideas of like, well, what does that look like? And she had a very clear vision of what it looked like. She's really big into manifesting. She's really big into kind of putting forth a goal, talking about that goal, and taking the action steps to get there. And I think for her, it was a little bit easier to see in that way versus me kind of feeling like, I don't know if it's going there. But it has, and she's again shown nothing but success to this point. So I'm kind of like, okay, like, we're gonna keep kind of riding this wave and enjoying our time together while our kids are young and building this business and seeing what it becomes. But it was trepidation at first because I couldn't really see how the vision was going to work out. But every time we talked about it, it seemed like Haley had a plan And so, again, I was like, all right, well, if we're going to take this jump, like, who better to do it with than, my best friend?
What a great story. Well, let's end with one final tip from Haley. So Haley, we know that, he does it all. He loves to cook, the meal planning. But if you could share with fellow couples out there, like just either kind of an overarching theme to the relationship, like the contributions that Justin makes that really feels like it empowers you in your company, or specific examples that other couples can learn from to improve their relationship, what would it be?
Communication. He has excellent communication. And we've always said that we don't really fight. Like, we don't fight. And people think that we're joking, and we don't fight. Like, it's not a thing, because we just talk about it. And when something is going on, we just have a transparent conversation, and both of us are willing to get uncomfortable with having a difficult conversation, and it's received well. Yeah, he's never offended if I'm like, hey, this is what's going on, I need this to change. And then the other way around, we're able to really just have very good conversations due to the clear lines of communication. So if you can, with your partner, just continue to talk to them. I know that sounds kind of cliche, but talk to them about how you're feeling. Don't wait until something has already exploded. Then they're going to be like, wait a minute, where's this coming from? If you can talk to them throughout the process, then they're going to understand, and things will be received much better than if you just wait and explode on them one day because they don't see it coming.
Well, that's great advice. Admire both of you, and I'm thrilled that we could highlight who you are and how you support one another.
Thanks, Brian. We appreciate it.